Okay, welcome in. I'm now going to be reviewing all of Wednesday night's and Thursday night's action of the NHL. So there were 4 games on tap for Wednesday, and there were 12 games respectively in games on Thursday. The first matchup takes place in Philadelphia, where we have the host Flyers taking on the Buffalo Sabres. Joel Farabee kicked things off in the first, less than a minute into the frame, an even strength goal from Travis Sanheim. Casey Middlestat would tie things up with 3.5 minutes into that period, assisted by Paterka and Skinner. Brandon Byro would then give the Sabres a 2-1 lead halfway through that period, and an even strength goal from Tage Thompson and Jordan Greenway. Cam Atkinson would tie things up with less than 4 minutes to go in that first, an even strength goal from Sanheim. There were no goals to report in the second. In the third, it was all Sabres at that point. So just over 3 minutes into the third, Owen Power would give the Sabres a 3-2 lead, an even strength goal from Thompson and Tuck. Thompson would then increase the lead to 4-2 over 13 minutes into that game, into the period, I should say, an even strength goal from Tuck as well. And then Brandon Byro would get his second goal of the game, just over 3 minutes to go in that third frame, and even strength goal from Middlestat and Krebs. So that would be where we would stand at the end of that game. 5-2 was the final. With that victory, the Sabres are now back to 500. They are sitting at 5-5-0. And with that loss, Philadelphia has dropped below 500. They are sitting at 4-5-1. Next matchup takes place north of the border, where we have the host Calgary Flames, who are not off to the best start, to say the least, and they're taking on the team in the Dallas Stars, who are absolutely red hot, to say the least. Dallas would get the victory in this one. It would be a 1-goal margin. 4-3 would be the final in favor of the Stars. Connor Zary would kick things off for the Flames in the first, about 5.5 minutes into that frame, an even strength goal from Tanev and Kadri. Jamie Benn would then get a short-handed goal with less than a minute in that period, assisted by Hintz and Lundell, so it was all tied up at 1 after the first period. In the second, Andrew Mangiapane would net the goal to give the Flames a 2-1 lead. An even strength goal from Uyghur and Lindholm, just about 2 minutes into that period. Jason Robertson would then tie things up about 2.5 minutes after that. An even strength goal from Hintz and Pavelski. Evgeny Dadonov would then increase the lead to 3-2 for the Stars. About halfway through, an even strength goal from Lundqvist and Benn. Mason Marchment would double up the lead to 4-2 with about 10 seconds to go in the second. An even strength goal from Duchesne and Seguin. So it's 4-2 for the Stars after 2. Mackenzie Weegar would get a power play goal for the Flames in the third, about 2 minutes and 20 seconds into that period, to decrease the lead to 4-3, assisted by Kadri and Lindholm, but that would be all the Flames would manage to muster. So 4-3, as I said, was the final score. With that, the Stars are sitting at 6-1-1, and the Flames have now dropped to 2-7-1. A very, very poor start to the season for the Calgary Flames. The next matchup takes place in the state of Colorado, where we obviously have the Colorado Avalanche, and they played host to a team in the Central, just like them, in the St. Louis Blues. Colorado would get the victory. 4-1 would be the final score. Take a look at the goal summary. So Ross Colton would kick things off in the first, an even strength goal about 9 minutes into the period, assisted by Wood. Mikko Rantanen would then get a power play goal about 4 minutes after that, assisted by Makar and McKinnon. So it was 2-0 for the Avs after 1 period of play. There was just the 1 goal to report in the second. Robert Thomas would get on the score sheet for the Blues to decrease the lead to 2-1, an even strength goal from Kapanen and Leddy, and that happened with just about 2 minutes and 10 seconds left of the second period. Arturi Lehkonen would increase the lead to 3-1, a minute and 40 seconds into the third, assisted by Makar and Rantanen, an even strength goal at that, And then Bowen Byron would get an even strength goal as well, but 8 minutes into the frame, assisted by Nathan McKinnon. So 4-1 was the final score. The Avalanche are now sitting at 7-2-0, while the Blues have dropped to 3-4-1. The last game on Wednesday night took place in California, where we have the host Anaheim Ducks, and they take on the Arizona Coyotes. The Ducks would be victorious in this matchup. It took till overtime to decide a winner, but 4-3 was the final score. In the first period, Troy Terry got a power play goal, no assists on his goal. 3 minutes and 46 seconds into that frame, he would then get a second goal, also on the power play, about 9 minutes and 35 seconds into that period, assisted by Mintyukov and Cam Fowler. Lawson Krause would decrease the lead to 2-1 about 2 minutes after that, and an even strength goal from Mosser and Bajustad. And then Logan Cooley would tie things up with about 5 minutes and 9 seconds left of that period, an even strength goal from Mosser and O'Brien. It was all tied up at 2 after 1. Lawson Krause would increase the lead for the Coyotes in the second with just under 6 minutes to go, and an even strength goal from Achille and Balmicki. Leo Carlson would then tie things up in the third for the Ducks, an even strength goal from Terry and Gudis. So it was obviously all tied up at 3 heading into overtime. Troy Terry would get the hat trick and the eventual game-winning goal about 3.5 minutes into overtime to secure the victory for the Ducks. So with the victory, the Ducks are sitting at 6-4-0, and with the overtime loss, the Arizona Coyotes are sitting at 4-4-1. So that takes care of all the games for Wednesday. Now we'll take a look at Thursday's busy schedule. As I said, there were 12 games on tap for Thursday night. So the first matchup takes place in Ohio, where we have the host Columbus Blue Jackets, and they were taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Blue Jackets would be victorious. They doubled up on the Lightning. 4-2 was the final score. Take a look at the goal scoring summary. In first, Kirill Macharko would kick things off for the Blue Jackets and get an even strength goal from Vornikov and Sillinger, so it was 1-0 for the Blue Jackets after 1. Stamkos would tie things up in the second, just about 3 minutes into that frame, and an even strength goal. There were no assists on his scoring play. Connor Sheary would then increase the lead for the Lightning about 4 minutes and 42 seconds into that period, and an even strength goal from Stamkos and Ceramic. So it was 2-1 for the Lightning after 2. In the third period, the Blue Jackets took over the game, didn't allow a single goal. They got 3 goals themselves. Boone Jenner would tie things up 6 minutes and 41 seconds into that frame, assisted by Werenski and Severson. Eric Gudbranson would then get the go-ahead goal with 9.5 minutes left, an even strength goal from Bemstrom and Fantilli. Johnny Gaudreau would then ice the game with about 2 minutes and 10 seconds roughly left in the game to increase the lead to 4-2, assisted by Perovov and Jenner, an even strength goal as well. So 4-2 was the final from Columbus. And the Blue Jackets are now sitting at 4-4-2. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are sitting at 4-3-3. Take one look here. The next matchup, I believe, takes place between the Panthers and the Red Wings. I just have to check one quick thing. Okay, so I'll bring up those logos on the screen right away. There we go. So in this game, the Panthers would come away victorious, getting a shutout 2-0 was the final score. So I'll report on the 2 goals. There were no goals in the first. Steven Lorentz would get a goal with less than a minute in that second to go for the Panthers. An even strength goal from Mikola. And then in the third, with about a minute and 12 seconds, Anthony Liddell would ice the game. An even strength goal from Kachuk and Kulikov. So 2-0 was the final score. With the victory, the Panthers are now sitting at 5-3-1. With the loss, the Red Wings are sitting at 6-4-1. Next matchup takes place in New York, where we have the host team in the New York Rangers, and they're playing host with a team they're very familiar with, and they're still in their division in the Carolina Hurricanes. The Rangers would come away victorious in this particular matchup. 2-1 would be the final score. Chris Kreider would kick things off on a power play about 2 minutes and 40 seconds into the opening frame, assisted by Panarin. Seth Jarvis will get a power play goal for the Hurricanes about halfway through that first, assisted by Aho and D'Angelo. So it was all tied up at 1 after the first period. There were no goals to report in the second. It took all the way until the third before the Rangers evidently got the game-winning goal about 10 minutes and 20 seconds into the period. Will Cooley would get the goal, assisted by Trouba and Gaudreau. So it was 2-1, and that's where the game would stand. With the victory, the Rangers are now sitting at 8-2-0, and the Hurricanes, with the loss, are sitting at 6-5-0. All right, next matchup takes place in Ontario, where we have the Ottawa Senators, and they were taking on the Los Angeles Kings. An interesting fact about this one is obviously Korpisalo, who was the goaltender for the Kings last season, obviously playing against his former team now that he's signed with the Ottawa Senators. Unfortunately, he was not able to get a victory as the Kings prevailed. 3-2 was the final score. Take a look at the scoring summary here. So Philip Deneau would kick things off for the Los Angeles Kings, getting a power play goal 3 minutes and 11 seconds into the period, assisted by Trevor Moore and Byfield. So it was 1-0 for the Kings after the first. Carl Grundstrom would double up the lead to 2-0. An even strength goal at the 5-minute mark of the second, assisted by Kempe. Anze Kopitar would then increase the lead to 3-0 at that point, about 9 minutes into that period. An even strength goal from Engelland and Kemp. Dominic Kubalik would finally get the Senators on the board with about 20 seconds remaining. A power play goal from Giroux and Chichurkin, so it was 3-1 for the Kings after 2. Josh Norris would decrease the lead to 3-2. 4 minutes and 9 seconds into the third, assisted by Bernard Docker and Tarasenko. But that is where the game would sit. So with that victory, the Los Angeles Kings are now sitting at 6-2-2. Just going to jot this down. And the Senators, with the loss, are sitting at 4-5-0. The next matchup takes place in Washington, where we have the host Capitals, and they were taking on the New York Islanders. Take a look at the scores. So the Islanders would prevail on this one, getting a shutout. 3-0 would be the final score. Ryan Pullock would kick things off in the first, just 22 seconds into the period, so the fans were just barely in the seats, and the away team got the first goal, even strength goal from Nelson and Palmieri. Simon Hillstrom would then increase the lead to 2-0, 10 minutes and 41 seconds into the period, assisted by Fasching and Pajot, so it was 2-0 for the Islanders after 1. And then the lone goal After that came in the second from Brock Nelson at the 11-minute and 15-second mark, and an even strength goal from Engvall and Mayfield. So 3-0 was the final score in that one. Take a look at the records. So with that victory, the Islanders are now improved to 5-2-2, and the Washington Capitals are back to 500, sitting at 4-4-1. The next matchup takes place in Massachusetts, where we have the Boston Bruins taking on a team they're more than familiar with in the Toronto Maple Leafs. It took until a shootout to decide a winner, but the Bruins would prevail, and they're still the beasts of the East, in my opinion. So 3-2 was the final score. Pavel Zacha would kick things off just less than a minute, so just over a minute to go in the first. An even strength goal from Carlo and Laurie. So it was 1-0 for the Bruins after one. Jake DeBrusk would then increase the lead to 2-0 about a minute and a half into the second. An even strength goal from Marchand and Coyle. Mitch Marner would decrease the lead to 2-1, getting the Leafs on the board. I want to say about 5 minutes after the DeBrusk goal. An even strength goal from Matthews and Nylander. And then speaking of Matthews, he would score to tie things up about a minute after that from Yarncroke and Legason. So it was all tied up at 2, heading into the third. There were no goals in the third or overtime. It took until a shootout to decide a winner, where Jake DeBrusk would get the game-winning goal and send the Bruins on their way. So with that victory, the Bruins are now sitting at 9-0-1, and the Leafs, I believe, are sitting at 5-3-2. Okay, take a look at our next matchup, and that should be, yes, off to Minneapolis, where we have the Minnesota Wild, and they're playing host to the New Jersey Devils. The Devils would prevail in this one with a final score of 5-3. Alexander Holtz would kick things off for the Devils in the first, about 3 minutes and 20 seconds into it, assisted by Bastien. And then Michael McLeod would then increase the lead to 2-0 for the Devils. Less than 5 minutes to go in the period. An even strength goal from Palat and Brett. So it's 2-0 for the Devils after one. Timo Meier would then increase the lead to 3-0 for the Devils on the power play, 2.5 minutes into the period, assisted by Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. Kirill Kaprizov would finally get the Wild on the board, a power play goal just about 9 minutes into the period, assisted by Addison and Zuccarello. So it's 3-1 for the Devils after two. Marco Rossi would then decrease the lead to 3-2. An even strength goal from Boldy and Broden, a minute and 10 seconds into the third. Jesper Bratt would then increase the lead to 4-2 for the Devils, and that happened at the 15-minute and 36-second mark. There was a power play goal from Toffoli and Luke Hughes. Jay Middleton would then decrease the lead to 4-3 less than a minute after that, assisted by Boldy and Rossi, an even strength goal. And then Dougie Hamilton will get a power play goal with less than 40 seconds to go in the game, assisted by Bratt and Jack Hughes. So 5-3 was the final score. With that victory, the Devils are now sitting at 6-2-1. And with the loss, the Wild are sitting at 3-5-2. 5 more games to cover. The next one takes place in Alberta, where we have the host team, Edmonton Oilers, taking on the Dallas Stars. Now, the Stars just played the night before in Calgary, so for me personally, I would have thought that they would be restless, but it was not meant to be. It was a very close contest, and could have gone either way, but they did prevail and get the sweep coming into Alberta. So the final score on this one was 4-3. Matthew Shane would kick things off for the Stars about 8 minutes and 8 seconds into the first. An even strength goal from Marchment and Lundell. Evander Kane would then tie things up at 1. An even strength goal from Nugent Hopkins. at the 17-minute mark of the first. So it was all tied up at 1 after 1. Joe Pavelski would then increase the lead would then give the Stars a lead in the second 3.5 minutes into the second, an even strength goal from Hintz and Heiskanen. And Rupi Hintz would then get a power play goal with less than 4 minutes to go in the frame, assisted by Pavelski and Jamie Benn. So it was 3-1 for the Stars after 2. Rupi Hintz would then get a second goal of the game 2 minutes and 40 seconds into the third, an even strength goal from Pavelski and Robertson. Sam Gagner, a very familiar name for the Oilers. This is now his third stint with the Oilers. Would get 2 late goals, but unfortunately it would be it'd be close, but no cigar. So he would get his first goal as a third member of the Oilers, third time through, assisted by CC and Kulak, and then he would then decrease the lead to 4-3, assisted by Evander Kane, with about 6 minutes and 24 seconds to go in the third frame. But unfortunately for the Oilers, it was too little too late. They were not able to come back and get the victory. So with that win, the Stars have now improved to 7-1-1. And with the loss, the Oilers are now sitting at 2-6-1. The next matchup takes place in Seattle, where we have the host Kraken, and they played against the Nashville Predators. Take a look at who won and the goal scoring summary, I should say, very soon. So the Kraken did prevail in this matchup, doubling up on the Predators 4-2. Tommy Novak would kick things off for Nashville in the first, about 6.5 minutes into the frame. A power play goal from Sissons and Evangelista. Oliver Bjorkstrand would get a power play goal for the Kraken with less than 5 minutes to go in the frame, assisted by Schultz and McCann, I should say. And speaking of McCann, he would then get his goal himself, giving the Kraken a 2-1 lead, assisted by Yanni Gourde with just about 2 minutes and 20 seconds left of the first. Roman Josi would then tie things up in the second, a power play goal from Tyson Barrie and Philip Forsberg, and that goal happened with about 3.5 minutes to go. Brian Dumoulin would then score 22 seconds after that to give the Kraken a 3-2 lead, assisted by Schultz and Cartle, an even strength goal, so it was 3-2 for the Kraken heading into the third period. Vince Dunn would then double up the lead 4-2, about 8 minutes and 40 seconds into the period, an even strength goal from Schwartz and Wenberg, and that's where we would stand after that. So with the victory, the Kraken are sitting at 4-5-2, and with the loss, the Predators are sitting at 4-6-0. The next matchup takes place in Nevada, where we have the host Vegas Golden Knights, and they're playing host to the Winnipeg Jets. The final score on this one would be 5-2 for the Golden Knights, and that's going to come to a surprise to absolutely nobody, considering how dominant Vegas has started the season off. William Karlsson would kick things off in the first 10 minutes and 45 seconds into the frame, an even strength goal from Dorofiev and Ben Hutton. So it was 1-0 for the Kraken after 1. Kyle Connor would tie things up in the second, 6 minutes and 17 seconds into that frame, an even strength goal from Iafallo and Mark Scheifele. Jonathan Marchessault would get a power play goal roughly 43 seconds after that to give the Kraken a 2-1 lead. Mark Stone and Logan Thompson would be the assists on that as well. Ivan Barbashev would then increase the lead to 3-1, assisted by Pietrangelo and William Karlsson. Yet another power play goal for the Kraken at the 8-minute and 38-second mark of the second period. So it was 3-1 for the Kraken heading into the third period. Alex Iafallo would decrease the lead to 3-2, getting a power play goal for the Jets, assisted by Perfetti and Kyle Connor. Jonathan Marchessault would get a second goal of the game to increase the lead 4-2 at the 5-minute and 47-second mark of that frame, assisted by Barbashev and Pet Pietrangelo. And then Marchessault would then get the natural hat trick, scoring with less than 3 minutes to go. There were no assists on his goal. So with the victory, the Kraken are now sitting at 9-0-1. Sorry, 10-0-1. Wow. That's very, very good. And with the loss, the Jets are sitting at 4-4-2. 3 games left to go on the tap. 2 more games to go. Next one takes place in California, where we have one team that's struggling and another team that is doing quite well in the Vancouver Canucks and the San Jose Sharks. So this game might take a little while to review. 10-1 was the final score. Wow. It's not too often you see a double-digit score in a game. Just goes to show you how bad the Sharks really are this year. Brock Besser would kick things off in the first, a power play goal, 2 minutes and 23 seconds into the frame, assisted by Elias Pettersson and Hughes. JT Miller would then get a power play goal as well at the 4-minute mark, assisted by Besser and Hughes. Speaking of Quinn Hughes, he would then get an even strength goal at the 8-minute mark, assisted by Hronek and Lafferty. And then Brock Besser would get his second goal of the game on the power play, big surprise, assisted by Kuzmenko and JT Miller. And that goal happened at the 3 minute and 11 with 3 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the first. So it was 4-0 after 1. Ilya Mikheyev would then increase the lead to 5-0, just over a minute into the second. An even strength goal from Soucy and Pettersson. Andrei Kuzmenko would then increase the lead to 6-0, with roughly 8-9 minutes into the frame, assisted by Pettersson and Friedman. Sam Lafferty would then increase the lead to 7-0 at the 12-minute and 35-second mark of the game, assisted by JT Miller and Quinn Hughes. And then Pius Suter would then increase the lead to 8-0 with 2.5 minutes to go. An even strength goal from Quinn Hughes. So it was 8-0 after 2 periods of play. Anthony Beauvillier would get a power play goal 3 minutes and 10 seconds into the third, assisted by Soucy and Hronek. And then Beauvillier would then get a second goal, even strength goal. Garland would be the assists at the about 12 minutes into the third, making it 10-0 at that point. The Sharks would finally get on the board with just under 4 minutes to go in the third. Fabian Zetterlund would score, assisted by Kunin and Kevin Labanc. So with that victory, the Canucks are now sitting at 7-2-1. And with the loss, the Sharks are still winless on the season. They're sitting at 0-9-1. Wow. Okay, and then the last game on tap for Thursday takes place in the desert, Arizona. And the Coyotes, host team, are playing host to the team I love the most in the Montreal Canadiens. The Coyotes would prevail in this contest. 3-2 would be the final score. Nick Schmaltz would kick things off in the first. It's over 6 minutes into the frame. No assists on his score. Sean Monahan would get on the board for the Habs to tie things up less than a minute after, assisted by Brendan Gallagher. So it's 1-1 after the first period. The lone goal in the second came from Lawson Krause with about 40 seconds to go in the second period, assisted by Michelli and Bjustad. So it's 2-1 for the Coyotes after 2. Brendan Gallagher would get a power play goal from Pearson and Newhook. So it was all tied up at 2 at that point, at about 3 minutes into the frame. Nick Schmaltz would then get a power play goal for the Coyotes at roughly 6 minutes into the third, assisted by Cooley and Keller. So 3-2 was the final score. So with the victory, the Coyotes are now sitting at 5-4-1, And with the loss, Montreal is sitting at 5-3-2. So both the teams are still at least above 500. And even though it's still early, they're still both technically in a playoff position. But we still have many, many months to go and many games to go to really decide the top 8 seeds in each conference, respectively. As always, if you like this type of content and you're new to the channel, please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative at the same time. As always, take care.